Well, hello everyone, it's Pete here. Now, like half the rest of the world, we are on lockdown here in the UK because of the virus. So no going out RCing, we're just allowed out to the shops or for exercise, but taking an RC car might be taking the mickey a little bit. So I thought I'd do a video from the hobby room here. Mark Bryan has tagged me to do some kind of a Tamiya based video. So he got tagged by RC Misfits. I think it's a fairly loose specification as to what the video can be. So I just thought we'd have a look around the hobby room because it's a little while since I have done. So before we have a look around the hobby room, I thought I'd just do a little potted history of my slight obsession with RC cars and Tamiyas in particular. So back in the 70s, I can't remember when I first became aware of RC cars, but I was very much obsessed with this idea of having a car that I could control from a distance without a wire. And I can't remember how old I was when I got the first one, but it was ever so basic, and all it did, it had one button on the controller, so it would go forwards until you pressed the button, then it would go backwards in a circle. So it was a little bit basic. And then moved forward a few years, I had a couple of different ones from Tandy's or Radio Shack. I couldn't remember what the difference was. I think the shop was Tandy and the brand was Radio Shack. Anyway, so there was a couple of Porsches, and what became apparent with those was that, well, one, you needed rechargeable batteries because they were too expensive to run on standard batteries, and also when they wore out you couldn't get the spare parts for them. So I can't remember exactly when I first became aware of Tamiya, but I definitely saw them on there's a long running TV show in the UK called Blue Peter, and they had them on there. They had a XR311 and a Cheetah, as far as I remember. I tried to look for this on YouTube and I can't find it when they were doing jumps, and I thought, wow, this is fantastic. So did a bit of investigation about these Tamiya RCs, and the one I really wanted was the Sand Scorcher. But that was too expensive really at the time, because you had to buy the radio gear, and the radio gear was expensive. Everything was quite expensive, to be honest. And the one I ended up with first of all was the original holiday buggy. Now, I love the looks of the holiday buggy, still do. That original chassis was a little bit prone to breaking down or just breaking, and at the time I was still at school, so I was able to make spare parts for it in my metalwork class, which was very handy. It ended up being more metal than it did plastic, to be honest. But then the next one was the original Wild Willie, and that was a great fun little car. Had a slight tendency to fall over, quite top heavy, but yeah, good fun. And then I got the XR311, which is a bit out of sequence Tamiya wise, but they were selling them cheap because it was now not a new kit, and I guess the model shop was just trying to get rid of old stock. So I've still got the remains of that, which is pretty knackered. And then I got the Tamiya FAV, which what was that, about 84, something like that. So I'm a older teenager, I guess, by this point. And yeah, that was really good actually. That's quite reasonably robust compared to some of the others. And I've still got that, although it doesn't run, it's a bit fragile now. So yeah, then there's a gap in my RC world. You know, I think a lot of people do this. They get to about 18, 20 and they sort of do sort of more adult stuff, and they've got their real cars and they're going down the pub and all the rest of it. And I think then in middle age you kind of think, oh, I could do with a hobby now. So I got back into it. I was about 45 in 2011, 12. I can't work out the maths anyway. And the first one I got then was the Lunchbox. I can't remember how I came upon the fact that they were still doing it, but I found out that Tamiya were doing these re-releases. Now, the Lunchbox was actually after I'd stopped doing RC the first time around, so it was sort of a whole new thing to me. But I looked up on YouTube and it looked like great fun, and yeah, it is great fun. So I was hooked again, and yeah, so I built up a fairly good collection, not like the massive collection you see on YouTube, but you know, I got quite a few RCs. and started doing the videos on YouTube, but yeah, then the disaster struck. What was that? May 2018, when we had the house fire caused by the LiPo battery going up, and not only were we sort of homeless for quite a while, I had destroyed, well, the fire had destroyed most of the previous collection, and yeah, it was all a bit gutting really, and a difficult time. So since then we've built this hobby room in the garage here, and I started sort of building up the collection. So yeah, and it's doing pretty well. So yeah, let's have a little look around the room. Right, start over here. So I've got my Tamiya box art in a frame there, very nice, and got the sand sculpture there that I bought from eBay. Very nice indeed. Hasn't been run that. I might not run that body. I think it might be too nice. And I've got my FAV, which survived from my teenage years. And then I've got the this is an MF01 X 4-wheel drive chassis with a Lexan Midnight Pumpkin shell. I didn't build that one. I bought that second hand. It's one of the lunch boxes. That is a brushed one in yellow. And I've got the main lunchbox runner, which is the black one, so that's brushless and has been battered to death. And this is a Wild Willy. I haven't built this one. This is one that I bought second hand from eBay, and that's very nice. I haven't actually run that one yet either. So moving across is my sort of odds and sods. There's my body shells up top there, and got this is interesting, this one that Pete Smith has built for me. It's a lunchbox pickup, which is going to go on the yellow one over there. When I've sort of built that up, I've got all the bits to do that, so I need to get on with it. But yes, thank you, Pete. That's a top job you've made there. And also that's an Ansman Mad Monkey. Right, so it's my shelf for putting things that are painted and drying. Odds and sods, odds and sods. Oh, you like this. So if I'm building a kit, the box is a bit in the way, so what I've got is a sliding shelf, so you can go rummage, 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 and then when you finish, put it all the way there. So then I've got the Brat, which is ready to build, and the Wild Willy down there, which I need to build at some point in the future. That's another gift from Pete. Thank you very much, Pete. That's fantastic. So moving up here, so we've got the MO5 Master 2. It's just brushed. So I've got this one, which is the TAO one, isn't it? I don't know whether to run this because I think these shells, I mean this shell is mint, and I think it seems a bit of a shame to batter it to death, to be honest. I might get a different shell and run it on this chassis. Mark says run it, yeah, just have some fun with it, but I think, I don't know, I think it might be a bit of a shame to batter that one to death. And it's the little Alpha there, so that is the M06 chassis rear-wheel drive. That's brushless at the moment. I might just tune that down a bit. That's a bit too fast for that really. I might just put a brushed motor in there and use brushless and something else. So it's the Datsun 240Z. What's that on? That's on a TTO2 brushless. It's the Mini on the MO1 chassis. I'm trying to remember. It was in a recent video, as was the Mercedes on the TL01 chassis. I've just put some more paint on that one because it all got scratched to death and all the paint fell off. And it's the sort of slightly sad remains of my XR311 there, very battered. And right, moving up here to some non-Tamiya stuff. So it's the FTX Bugster, HPI Firestorm Flux, what's that, Slash, Traxxas Slash, and Axial Yeti. So moving on to Tamiyas, got the TTO2B B dual ridge there, the chrome edition. So that's a DT03, what do they call that, a racing fighter. It's looking a bit battered. That's actually the most recent one I've built, and it got chewed by a dog, and also the end fell off the fin there, so need to restore that a bit better. Anyway, great little runner. Another DT03, which is the Acro shop there, and this is the DT02. Now this was the Titan, Nissan Titan, and I have got the beetle shell on that at the moment to make it a bit like a Blitzer beetle. And moving on, got the Kong head there, and up there, what do they call that, an Outback crawler thing, pretend Toyota, and got the what do they call that, GF01, you try to remember, Suzuki. So yeah, that's about it at the moment. Okay, so there at this end of the desk where I do the builds and the videos, and oh, this is a useful thing. So I've got a magnet board, and you get these little round magnets off eBay, and then and you can sort of stick all the tools to it. So it's quite a useful little thing to have. And up here, yeah, just the odds and sods shelf, and say TV up here, and comfy chair for lounging. Okay, so that's about it from me. I'm supposed to nominate 3 people. It depends on them actually watching this, which I don't know, but I'm going to nominate, sniff the tyres guys, sniff the tyres guys, all the tyres, guys, Simon Webb, and also it might be a big ask, but Pete Smith and Roy Pomfrey, who come and meet for RC bashing. Now, they don't make videos, and I don't think they've got editing facilities, but if you can do a one-take thing of your hobby rooms, guys, that'd be very interesting. Otherwise, don't worry about it. And anyway, that's all from me. I'll see you next time.